Now, Councilman Johnson, reduction in the size of council from 7 to 5, and you had an additional handout, I think, that was in the agenda as well.
Yes, I did. We did not address, and when I say we, I just want to make it real clear because I think there's some innuendos or something that I work with the mayor on this or the mayor's staff or the 7th floor on this and even the salary issue. That's absolutely not true. So let me go on the record. The only person that really helped me with it in this building was Mr. Crayer, and he caught this early, and him and I worked to rectify that. So that is the only person that works out of this office that helped me with that at all. I don't even know if the mayor really knows what's going on with my items. So just want to get that out there because I think it's there's some misinformation out there, and that's one piece of misinformation. I know people think I have special access and unfettered access, and et cetera, but these were my ideas, and I appreciate that opportunity to make that extremely clear. I've been on council almost 8 years. I served with Councilman Gerald's in the audience, and Councilman Wu and Canada Wynn for a number of years. And, what I keep hearing over and over again is that we're really large. And I've heard this over and over again. I think even, if I hate to say it, but I think the Charter Review Commission even addressed this during their 2 years of discussions about how big we are. And then, this idea has been floating in my head for a long time. No one's put this idea in my head. It's something that I came up with by myself or with comments from other people in our community. And so what I did was I started looking around at other cities our size. If you look at the examples I gave of population in the 50s, I think we're the only one that's 7 members of council. The other interesting thing, and I even went as far as today, started looking at Plantation, 5 members, Pembroke Pines, 5 members, Cape Coral, 5 members, they had 7, but they're 3 times larger than us. Port St. Lucie, Fort Lauderdale, 5 members, 3 times larger than we are. West Palm Beach have 105,000 people living in the city of West Palm Beach, have 5 council members. So it just kept coming back to 5, coming back to 5. If you look at the Escambia County Commission, 5 members. Santa Rosa County Commission, 5 members. Santa Rosa Island Authority, 5 members. School boards, 5 members. ECUA, 5 members. Not to mention the fact that the school board and the ECUA make a lot more money than we do for a lot less work. That's an issue that we'll talk about maybe Thursday night. But I just kept looking at other councils, and they're just, whether it was a mayor council form of government or a mayor council form of government, I just kept seeing 5 pop up, 5 pop up, 5 pop up, and it just seems to work for other cities in our state. I think it's a very good number. I consistently say that I believe in smaller government. I think there's been other comments about I've read from folks about the district lines that were drawn, and maybe that we need to take another look at that. That would give us this opportunity to do that, and I think that if we allow this to go on the November ballot, I think that you're going to find it would pass. And if it passed, I think that we would have to put together a commission of each council person naming a person for that commission. Maybe if you don't run, Mr. Bear, maybe Mr. DeHar would put you on that commission, and you could share that and lead that effort. Just throw that out there. But I think that the number is a good number. Again, I've looked at other councils all over the state of Florida. It just seems like that's a good number. We're a city of 53,000 people, and if you divide 53 by 5, you're looking at just representing a little over 10,000 people. So I thought I'd bring it forward. I didn't know that this charter workshop was going to move forward and that I'd have the opportunity to bring this to my fellow council members. But since you brought it up, Mr. President, I thought it was a good time to talk about it. I'd love to see this on the ballot. I'd like the citizens to decide on this. Again, every citizen that lives in the city of Pensacola is also a county resident, and they're represented by 5 county commissioners, 5. and they're, what, 5 or 6 times the size of the city of Pensacola, our county is, that is. So I'd love to see this on the ballot. I would appreciate the support of council. I'm not sure how we would do the redistricting or what seats would be eliminated. I don't mind stepping out of this gig. I don't mind letting someone else have an opportunity to serve. And so if it means that 2's going to have to come off, if I'm one of those, I'm fine with that. But I'd love to see this move forward. I'd love to see it on the ballot. I had the opportunity to talk to Supervisor of Election Dave Stafford this morning about 8 o'clock and talk to him a little bit about this. And he had some concerns about the length of the ballot that's going to be before the citizens here. But I did speak to him about this. And I think we can have the language that it's very easy for the public to understand. And I think that we could get it on the ballot. So I would appreciate the council supporting this and love to hear from the rest of my council. Thank you.
Okay. Councilwoman Myers.
Well, I don't support it at this time, and this is why. I think larger districts is going to require a lot more money to run a race. And what you're going to have is a lot more big money in races. And the only way I could support it is if the council put on the ballot an anti-corruption measure like the city of Tallahassee, which limits campaign contributions to $250. And so, because I can see the writing on the wall, you're going to have big money because it's going to take a lot more money to run a campaign. The first time I ran, I think I ran on a little less than $2,000, or just a little over, maybe $2,400, and about 90% of it was my money. But to run a campaign bigger than that would require getting money from bigger donors. That's one thing. Number two, I think that having smaller districts gives people more access to their representatives. You are in a better position to really get to know your constituents really well in smaller districts than you do in larger districts. I also have concerns that reducing the number to 5 will dilute the minority representation on the city council. The other concern I have is I would like to see, and I could possibly support reduction to 5, if we keep a mayor-council form of government, that the mayor be a member of city council. And the reason being, in many, many cities, the mayor, and in the past, we had a mayor who was a member of the city council. What it does, it keeps the mayor from being able to lobby city council members.
Councilwoman Myers, can we just keep it to the...
Well, I'm telling you why I'm,
okay.
You can't take these out of context. So, I mean, there are other things that you have to consider when you're considering reducing the size of the council. When is it appropriate? When is it not appropriate? Just to reduce the size of the council is not appropriate. There have to be some other things that are done with it for me to support it. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Councilman Chahar.
Yeah, I've said to people for a long time that I thought 8 or 9 was too big, and then 7's still too big, and that I think 5 is the correct number. So I fully support this. I'd like to see the council down at 5. 5 districts would be good. I'd even be okay with 5 at-large members. I know Councilman Bear ran a very inexpensive campaign. I don't think he raised a lot of money, and he did an at-large thing. So it's not. I don't think it's a money thing. I think it's a time and effort thing that gets you elected. So, I think that 5 members is the correct amount, and I'm always for smaller government. Less government's always more efficient, and I don't think there'll be a downside in representation. I think there'll be a bigger. I think more things will get done, and I think that's what people want. So that's fine.
Councilman Wingate.
Well, I argued against the reduction from 9 down to 7 because I didn't feel that the people would be getting the representation that they needed with their council members. But that did pass. It went from 9 to 7, and I spent a lot of time with the mayor as he tried to get me to agree with him. And there have been civil rights gains made that are court ordered, that we have 7 districts, so that blacks or other minorities would have a chance to get an opportunity to be on the city council. The other thing too is the dilution of the voting strength. When we had 9 on there, it took 5 in order to pass anything. With 7 on there, it would take 4 people to agree, and then with 5, it would only take 3. And most of the time, the mayor has had influence on some of the council members in their vote. So it would be a lot easier for the mayor to get 3 votes than it would for him to have had to get 5 when we were at the 9-member level. So I'm against this. The other side of it too is that we have other jobs. I've got TPO, I've got juvenile justice, I've got CDAC, and everybody's got some additional jobs that they're supposed to fulfill. So every time this goes down, you pick up another responsibility that you take on. If we went down to 5, that would mean that the people that were on there would probably have 5 different organizations that they belong to. So I'm against this. I don't think it would benefit the people of the city of Pensacola if we went down to 5 councilmen.
Councilman Wu.
I'll start off by saying I have no problem 5, 7, either way. But sometimes it's instructive to look at history, and I think we've had 2 people give us a little bit of that. A while back, to make sure that minorities had representation on council, a judge ruled that there would be 3 minority districts that would be set up out of what we had. Councilman Wingate occupies one of the seats. Councilman Jewel Canada Wynn occupies one of the seats. And Councilman Brian Spencer occupies one of the seats. Before I move along with that, and I appreciate you bringing this to us, and I appreciate your work in getting it to where it's at, I personally would like to know the impact it will have on the minority community. Are we talking about out of 5 you're going to have 2 minority, or we're going to have 3? Because that makes a difference depending on what shoes you wear. And so those type of details I think need to be clarified before I'm ready to move on it. Because I'm adamantly opposed to seeing the minority representation diluted in any way. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. Thank you. Councilwoman Canada Wynn.
Yes, I just have one word, no.
No?
No.
Okay. Councilwoman Myers.
Yeah. Well, for the record, I will tell you that I would never in a million years, never support 5 at large. And if that ever happened, I will find a good civil rights attorney and file a lawsuit against this city, because you talk about something that will dilute the African American vote, that will. That's why we don't have it today. Lawsuit has already been filed over just that issue.
Okay. Councilman Johnson.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And I just want to address a few things before we get too far down the road. We're just talking about putting this before the voters. We're not talking about changing from 7 to 5 this afternoon. We're talking about putting this before the voters, which will give it a good chance to be vetted and let the voters decide. But I always thought that there would be 2 out of the 5 minority districts, personally. that's just my thoughts, and I think if we look at our council today, we have 2 minority members out of 7. So 2 out of 5 is a bigger slice of the pie for the minority community. So I just wanted to address that. But we talked about Tallahassee. Tallahassee, I think someone brought up Tallahassee. I think Tallahassee is about 3, excuse me?
They have at large.
They have at large, and I believe there's 5. But I just didn't want to get too far down the road. As far as diluting, if we represent 7,000 people today versus 10,500, if this moves forward, we're not talking about this huge number of people, and to think that and to really state that it's going to cost a lot more money to campaign for 3,500 people than you represent today, I just don't agree with that. Today, I don't think so. But again, I've looked at a lot of cities and our size, and just about all of them are 5. And I just wanted to address that before we got too far down the road. And the minority representation, I always thought would be 2 out of 5. But that would be left up if this did move forward, did pass, and I believe it will pass if it ever makes it to the ballot. I believe it will. I thought 2 out of 5 would be the minority representation on council at that time. Thank you very much.
Okay. Councilman Spencer, or Vice President Spencer.
Thank you. I think that this city council has it's one of the terms I use in sports or anything involving coordination is muscle memory. And the muscle memory here is for this city of a lower population is greater number of council members for a small city. I think had we not had these decades of experience with such a large council, we wouldn't be having this debate. And I'm in favor of this leaner 5-person council. I believe it can operate effectively, efficiently, and most importantly, have the representation for the diversity that makes up our city.
Councilman Wu.
After hearing what Councilman Johnson has to say, I want to take some heat that he might get tomorrow and take it off of him. All I can say is 2 out of 5 is a lot more powerful than 2 out of 7. So if there's a guarantee, if at least a minimum, I'm not saying there's only 2, I'm saying there's a minimum of 2, then it makes it a lot more acceptable. And so what I'm saying is I'm commending you for what you said, because I didn't want anybody, based on what I've said, calling you and saying, what are you trying to do? So, thank you, Mr. President.
Councilwoman Myers.
Well, there are a lot of things that we have on the agenda here. I mean, why shouldn't the public have the right maybe to have a charter review commission and have a lot more public input than what we're seeing today, so the public is allowed to really weigh in on what changes they want to see in their government? That's what I would like to see. I mean, this is way too much stuff for us to make a decision. Well, let the public decide. Well, I'd like for the public to have a chance to vote on whether or not they want to go back to another form of government.
Okay. Councilwoman Canowin.
Yes, I do. The guarantee of 2 seats as a minority seat, I don't know if that can happen. I know that I had followed the state and the Senate issues on the gerrymandering and the redistricting and the fact that they had to go back to redistrict. I had followed that. So I don't think that in any way we can guarantee that there's, because we may run into some legal issues or some issues in that. And so I just wanted to bring that up, because I followed that process where you had to go back and they had to redo some of those lines and deal with issues that was created for that. So the guarantee of 2 out of 5 is not necessarily, I think, what may happen.
Okay. Any other comments from the public?
My name is still Bill Kaplinger, and I still live in the same place. You have way more important fish to fry that's going to require building consensus in the city to fix to do this now. I think that 5 is not a bad idea, but not now. Not now. You've got bigger fish to fry, you got more things to do, and you're going to need every city council person to help explain and lobby for the real changes that have to be made in terms of the other issues that we've talked about. So I think it's not a bad idea to have 5, but not now. You've got other more important things to do. You need a bigger team to do it. You need the larger discussion, even though it's going to be a long, complicated discussion, but not now. It's a good idea, but not now. You've got other things to fix before you deal with this, in my opinion. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Councilman Johnson.
Yes, sir. If I could address what
Mr. Kaplinger?
Mr. Kaplinger, yes, sir. I was just going to note something for you. The only way that the charter can be changed is either during a special election or a general election.
Yeah.
We have a general election staring us in the face, November of 2016, a general election.
Yeah.
So that's why, and I didn't put this charter workshop on our agenda. Someone else did that, but this is the appropriate time to have this discussion. And so I just wanted to make sure you understood the only time we can change a charter by our charter is during a special election or a general election. So that's why this conversation is being had today. And I do appreciate you coming down and sharing your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Channel 3 is very interested in this discussion of this item too, so, you know. Mr. Scaminacci?
Yes, I'm still James Scaminacci, and I still live at 7050 Heather Oaks Drive. Part of my academic training is I do have a PhD in sociology, and I did do political sociology. And I would just caution the city council on reducing districts. This area lost a court case that, you know, mandated going from at-large districts to specific districts so that you could get minority representation. And as you reduce the number of districts, you are moving actually towards an at-large system which will disenfranchise minority voters. Now, I'm not impugning anybody's motives, but a technocratic solution sometimes masks disproportionate effects upon minority communities. And you should be very careful about doing this because you are inviting a civil rights litigation. You really are.
Councilman Johnson?
Yeah, thank you very much, sir, for sharing those comments with us. But I'm just curious. I know that you said you weren't a city resident and you're a county resident. Now, have you ever brought down these same concerns to the Escambia County Commission and asked them to increase in size?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Georgia Blackman, 2017 North 7th Avenue. Back in the 50s, a man named Charlie Tate ran for city council. And at that time, it was Sangamon District, and he won. Friday night, he had it. Monday morning, he did not. And it was at that time that Pensacola, my hometown where I was born, became at large. In the late 50s was when the Macmillans sued for representation. And they won the case. I'm 74 years old and I was born in Pensacola. And I know Pensacola. I pay tax and I live here. That suit that went about was to make sure that me my children, my grandchildren have representation where I pay tax. And to say that you want to put it down to 5, and I was at when they got ready for the strong mayor, I was there at every meeting. So this did not just start. There was a young woman that was the consultant as an attorney. And they tried to push it through. And in a very quiet voice, she said, I wouldn't do that. And it tried to go through the second time. And she said, if you do that, that suit will jump wide open. And so it went away until now when the suit went away, when the lawsuit went away. But believe me, that if this happened, I don't know whether it will or not, but there will be another lawsuit. We are looking for representation. I pay tax. I'm entitled to representation. I want it for my children and my grandchildren, and even the unborn generation. I don't want it just for myself. I want it for Pensacola, and all of the people in Pensacola need to be represented. And so I am here to say that I'm totally and completely against, as I was when we was getting ready for the charter for the mayor. I was against it then, and I'm against it now. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Geralds?
Thank you. John Geralds, 101 Escalona Avenue. And as I listen to this discussion, and as I have observed the desire to go to 5, and I've heard the numbers that cities are larger and the councils or the boards are smaller, and I wonder if we've matched up the numbers with the people who actually live in the counties. But if I take an example from what I see, and I'm no mathematician, but I do understand arithmetic, and I have never been satisfied with the 4-to-1 combination of our ECUA, our school board, or our county commission. It's a 4-to-1 combination. We'll lose every single time. So to go to 5 would be ridiculous. If it were up to me, we'd stay exactly where we are, because the court, in its infinite wisdom, decided that more representation and involvement needed to take place in the city of Pensacola. It was unconstitutional the way things were going. And we didn't just wake up and understand this. It's always been that way. And to change it now, with the condition and with the job that we're doing, we need to stay exactly where we are. And it's been said, we need the number of people to handle the problems that we have. The problems have not gone away. As a matter of fact, they're increasing. And we need the board the size that it is right now to do what it does best, in whatever manner that it's doing it. But to reduce the number of members on the council would again be unconstitutional, and certainly it would open up the gates to objections, court suits, and the like. But certainly there would not be the kind of representation that we demand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Diane Robinson, 801 West LaRue Street. And I just wanted to say, as a former city councilwoman, I would like to say that this is not the time to reduce the council. Number one is that you guys need some more training. I really hate to say this, but I wanted to ask the question, if you guys have training from the state of Florida where each council member should have housing background, public works, health, park and rec, police and fire, and all of those should be included in your city council training. I don't know whether you guys get training or not, but just from the council meetings that I come to, I'm not aware whether you guys have that type of training, and you do need those type of training so you can be involved with your department heads. And another thing I just wanted to add too is that I would like to ask a question to Councilman Johnson about the special election. When can you have a special election?
If I could, Mr.
That's
Chair.
fine.
Thank you very much. The last time we had a special election, it was when Representative Clay Ford passed away, and Representative Mike Hill was elected. That was June, I want to say June 2013, but check that date. So if there's a death or someone is unable to serve, then there would be a special election. Yes, ma'am. And that's when we changed the charter from 9 to 7 was during that special election. I don't know if you remember Mr. Clay Ford. He passed away, and there was a special election for his seat, and that's when we did it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And we can schedule our own special election if we
can. Oh, I did.
It's expensive,
And,
but we
and
can.
I just wanted to know if you guys are familiar with the state training that you get. You know, each council member should be trained in these different department heads, like Park and Rec. All of those you should have yearly training in those fields.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
just wondering if you guys get that.
Thank you. Councilwoman Myers?
Well, I just wanted to say that I agree with Bill that I don't think that this is the most important issue facing the city, the size of the council. I think there are far more important issues that we've discussed today than the size of the council. So I just wanted to say, yes, I agree with you about that.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I didn't know you were up to speak.
Sir?
I'm Clifford Stokes. I live at 7480 Rolling Hill Road in the county, but I own property and pay taxes in the city. I was one of the plaintiffs in the voter rights suit that took place here. We sued because the city at that time was at large. The city compromised before the county and the school board. The city recommended 5 districts and 3 at large. The city did. We didn't. We agreed during that suit that that was the way to go. Now, because you had 9 at the 8 at that time, that was not ordered by the court. That was the compromise that the court agreed to. We wanted fair representation. Now what you're doing, first you eliminated 3 positions that was at large. The minorities had input into those 3 positions. You did away with them. Now you're going to 5, and you're going to say we're going to have 2. We'll be lucky to have 1. And one of you mentioned at large. That's why we sued. At large eliminated blacks from having positions of authority in the city council. We had 1 person on the city council until the lawsuit. So you're going to go back to the lawsuit, because if you leave it to the citizen, the majority will vote for the majority. The majority want total control. All we want is equity. We want a fair chance. You're trying to take that away. You're backdooring it. You backdoored it before. You want to backdoor it again. We'll see you in court again.
Councilman Johnson?
Yeah, Mr. Stokes, I appreciate you coming down, but if you think I'm trying to dilute minority representation, if you think that I'm trying to dilute minority representation, you're absolutely 100% incorrect.
Okay.
And you contradicted yourself, because you said when we did away with 2 at-large seats that you had their ear. I don't remember exactly how you phrased it, but then you said that you fought against the at-large seat. So I'm a little confused on those statements, but I can promise you that 2 out of 5 is a bigger slice in the pie than 2 out of 7. I went on Mr. Hill's radio program, and we talked about this in length with Mr. Gant, Mr. Hill. But I want to say I take offense from what you said to me about that I'm trying to dilute minority representation.
Okay.
That's absolutely false.
Okay. You take offense to it.
If you let me finish, I'll let you talk.
Okay.
So, but anyone is welcome to contact me, and I believe probably the other 7 council members, anytime, no matter what their race or religion or whatever, to discuss any issue. But I do take offense for you saying that I'm trying to dilute minority representation. That is absolutely 100% false.
Okay.
Thank you.
And that is my opinion, just like that is your opinion.
Yes,
Now,
sir, but you're wrong. You're
okay.
wrong.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now let me finish. You're saying 2 positions will be predominant. How are you going to guarantee that? We can't even guarantee in this council where it's 7 that we got 2. We got 3 predominantly black districts, and we got a white representative representing one of those districts. So nothing is guaranteed that you're going to have minority representation, or that person is going to really truly represent minority interests. So that's what I'm saying. You saying 2 positions? How do you guarantee that? Who draws the line?
Thank you, Mr. Stokes. Councilman Spencer?
Yes, Mr. Stokes, I wanted to ask Mr. Stokes a question. Thanks. I often ask people when I run into them in town, and Mr. Stokes, you've been attending many meetings here, but I've never been able to ask you, when were you a resident of the city? When was the last year?
I really don't remember. It's 80s, 90s.
I'm wondering why you moved out.
I moved out because I bought property elsewhere. I still own property in the city. I moved where I had more land. I could build a bigger house.
All right. Well, hopefully we can get you back.
Because I'm not particular for any way. I mean, I would support 5 districts just as much as I'd support 5 at-large members. But you had mentioned earlier that Tallahassee has all at-large members. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah.
So I guess it sounds like if somebody filed a lawsuit against them, they'd probably win, because it seems like it's pretty cut and dry that you can't have all at-large members, and that's why I'm just confused, because if it works for them, that's great. It may not work here. I'm not saying that it will. It's just it's not out of the realm of it's been done before. I would much rather have districts, but I'm just saying it seems like at-large members is something that is a possibility. Again, I'm not saying that it's the right way to go. I'm just saying it's not unusual. Let's put it that way.
Right. Councilwoman Myers?
Well, having all at large isn't even on the table. That's not Mr. Johnson's proposal. So I don't even know why we're discussing it. I don't think for 1 minute that Mr. Johnson, Councilman Johnson, would ever want to dilute the African American vote. I do not think that's his intention at all. However, I think what people fear is the unintended consequences. So again, I could feel maybe comfortable with 5 if we had campaign finance reform. I would just like to point out in Tallahassee, you can't make over $250 contributions. So, so I just think that there are a lot of things that need to be taken into consideration. I think that to make this city work better. And I don't think that at this time just reducing the number to 5 is the most important thing to make the government work better. But I'm just fearful that no matter how good your intentions are or somebody's intentions are, what are the unintended consequences? I mean, I had good intentions when I supported the charter, but some of the things I supported have had unintended consequences. And so now we're backpedaling. So anyway, I just wanted to say that I support Mr. Johnson's intentions, and that is that he is trying to make the government more efficient.
Thank you. Okay. Sir?
Yeah, I would just want to say to Councilman Johnson that it isn't really a question of your own personal motivations or your own personal beliefs. Okay? I don't believe you really are trying to do the dilution. Okay? But in political science, you create a rule and you get certain outcomes. And if you if you lessen the number of districts, you will dilute the vote of minority voters, and they will have less representation. It has nothing to do with your motivation. It has everything to do with the demographics, how you draw the districts, and the consequences of rules. If you have a proportional system, you get certain outcome. If you have first past the post, you get a different outcome. Political science has certain rules. You put a rule in, you're going to go from 7 to 5, you're going to get less minority votes. Okay? You're going to get less minority representation. It has nothing to do with your motivation. I accept your motivation. It's just that's the consequence you're going to get, and you'll get a lawsuit. Thank you.
Ms. Blackman, you have something, you already spoke once on this.
Yes. Can I speak again?
Briefly.
Okay. Number one, Tallahassee is a little different than Pensacola. Tallahassee have 2 universities there, Florida A&M and Florida State. Tallahassee mayor is African American. The mindset is totally and completely different. Tallahassee mayor is African American, less than 40 years old. The mindset is different. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Myers.
I would also like to point out that Tallahassee has a council manager form of government with a mayor and 4 council members elected at large. So the form of government is different, and the mayor is a member of the city council, which means that the mayor can't lobby the city council members.
Right. Okay.
So,
Any other comments on this particular issue? Okay, let's move on then.